Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Happy Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! That's it.
Standard edition.
Just standard edition. Late edition. Late Friday edition.
Late Friday edition. Welcome in, everybody. Happy to see you all here. Hopefully, we can get you through the end of your workday. If you're based in the Western Hemisphere here, you're probably finishing up your workday here, getting ready for the weekend, and hopefully we can get you through and get you ready for what's going to be a big weekend of NBA basketball. We've got the NFL draft. Keith, by the way, congratulations. Your Patriots, they did what you wanted. They didn't trade back for a change. They took Drake May. So that's exciting, right? You got your guy.
Yeah, I have no idea if Drake May is actually good or not, but they didn't trade back. So I'm happy they took one of the quarterbacks and then we'll roll with it. So I'm happy to live with that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it winds up we wind up with an exciting second night of the NFL draft tonight. But as I said, we got plenty of playoff basketball to talk about, Keith. I've already got this comment coming in. Roberto said, "Here you go, Trev, so you can buy yourself a nice bowl a new bowl at Chipotle," which I do appreciate that, Keith. I'm assuming you don't listen to the Lakers Nation podcast on a regular basis, so you probably didn't hear my Chipotle burrito bowl story.
I did not.
Okay. It is a tale that is long in the telling, but the bottom line is I accidentally, keyword accidentally, wound up, kill-shotting my mother-in-law with a Chipotle burrito bowl years ago. It was not on purpose, but it was one of the worst moments. It was one of those moments where time stood still. Everything, it felt like it was moving in slow motion. And I, for the life of me, despite my best efforts, I could not stop it once that bowl had left my fingertips and I could see it all moving through the air as it made contact. Awful. And of course, I used that to relate to the Jamal Murray shot from game 2. That's how that all ties together there.
At least it was a bowl and not a burrito. A Chipotle burrito could have killed her. Could have full on killed her. Those things are heavy. They packed those full. So good thing.
That's true.
So, yeah.
It was not a good moment. But speaking of not a good moment, Keith, I am still recovering. I really felt like last night the Denver Nuggets it was like, let's say you go to a party, right? And they've got some type of appetizer out, an hors d'oeuvre, whatever it is. Bacon wrapped shrimp, if we want to go Ron Swanson style here. They've got bacon wrapped shrimp sitting out. I don't know why I'm making so many food analogies today. Must be hungry. But it's sitting out, and there's one left. It's like the Nuggets were all game. The Nuggets were sitting there looking at the Lakers like going, "Are you going to take it? Well, are you going to take it? But like, we're being nice. Do you want to take it?" And then finally they just went, "Okay, fine. I guess we'll just go ahead and take it." That was last night's Lakers-Nuggets game. So Lakers fans are in a bad way today, Keith.
Yeah, I did actually. I watched portions of your post-game show. I watched a little bit of it before I retired and went to bed for the evening. And they yeah, man, you guys were a sad bunch, but I think you correctly captured the feel. It's going down 3-0 is I know it's done, but I still have to go. I still have to go here. It's like being the only thing I can equate it to would be hey, execution day's coming. It's coming. You ready? We're gonna games 1 and 2 where all right, maybe my appeals will be heard. Maybe I'll hold off. Maybe they won't do it. Game 3 was nope, we're doing the practice round where we strap you into the chair, but we don't actually do it. And now then game 4 is just all right, well, we finished it off. So that's kind of how it feels like a little bit, or I don't know. I guess they could have gone less morbid and said maybe it's being told you're being fired on Friday and but you got to come in and work the rest of the week. With that, just be bounced, right? You wouldn't even show up.
So Keith, I think what's fascinating is now, and I promise we're not going to spend the whole time talking about the Lakers because that would be too sad. What's fascinating now is the Lakers have an interesting choice to make. And we see this all the time in situations like this every year. The Lakers have to decide because they're getting on a plane on Sunday. They have to decide, do they want that plane to go to Denver or do they want that plane to go to Cancun?
Yep.
They have to make the decision because this is the point when you start thinking, do I even want to pack up and fly back to Denver? Like, they know they're not winning this series. Do I even really want to make that trip? Or do I want to go spend time on a beach with my family, my friends, and all that kind of stuff? And more often than not, it's the latter. What teams wind up choosing. And I'm not saying, even if the Lakers say, oh, no, we're going to throw everything at Denver, I'm not even saying they're going to win in that scenario. I'm saying you'll get an idea in game 4 what the Lakers' mindset is. Despite, it doesn't matter what they say. They're going to say all the right things. But whatever their mindset is, we're going to find out whether they're looking at the beach or if they want to go back to Denver and play a game 5.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it really is that simple. Yeah. Somebody's going somewhere. And I always think about it too. You kind of know with a team like Denver, I think they know the value of just get the series over with because anything can happen if you go into another game. And it's not out of a fear of they're going to become the first team ever to rally from down 3-0. It's more a fear of, all right, we have to play one more game. That's one more chance a guy rolls an ankle or a guy gets,
as Reggie Jackson
injury. Did. Yeah, exactly. So you're in a spot where let's just get it closed out and let's go. We'll put our feet up and be ready and hope the Suns can extend the series with the Timberwolves and push them, and we'll wait for whoever comes out of that.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a few
Trevor,
questions coming in here.
I'm getting an unstable connection on my end, so I'm gonna pop out and pop back in.
Cool, perfect. Yeah, I was just gonna tell you that. All right, cool. While Keith is trying to refresh his feed here, I do want to talk a little bit about the Cavs and the Magic. Big win for a young Magic. I mean, obviously they blew out the Cavaliers, so that's absolutely impressive for a young Magic team. They went down 0-2. Now they're showing they've got some fight. And this is what you want to see. This is frankly what you wanted to see out of the Lakers, right? To come back, go home, have that home crowd and show, no. We're not just going to get this missed here. We're going to come back with some energy, some effort. We're going to come back. We're going to fight. And we're going to take you down. The Cavaliers, look, the Magic defense was great. The Cavaliers only scored 83 points. So now you've got a 2-1. I mean, good Lord, 83 points. Is this 1994? Incredible stuff there. But Orlando's defense was able to lock in 121-83. Now you've got a series, and the really interesting game in that one becomes game 4 because the Cavs will not play as bad. They will counter some of the things that the Magic threw at them. The Magic probably will not be quite as good when you've got that kind of home cooking going and all that. They shot 51% from the field. Is that going to happen again? We'll see. But I think now you've got a real series in Orlando and Cleveland. Keith, I'm just talking about the Cavs and the Magic series. Welcome back in. Looks like your connection's much better now. I was saying that this is a great sign for this young Magic team to respond the way they did in front of their home crowd. Game 4 is now where this series will pivot one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, they stomped the Cavs. Like, that wasn't even close. That was just from almost the opening minutes. Like, Orlando played very similar to how the Knicks played the Cavs last year. They were up into those guys. They were banging them. They were bouncing them around, attacking the rim on them, and really made the Cavs work. So it was really a spot where, as that game went along, it was like, all right, the Magic are here now. And I think it took them a couple games to sort of figure it out. And they did, and now they're here, and hopefully they're going to make a real series of this. I think the Cavs, JB Bickerstaff, I think realized, all right, we don't have it tonight. And he kind of pulled the plug very early on the game, which is fine. That happens sometimes. But yeah, it was a really fun series and or fun game rather for the Magic. I know a lot of Magic fans were pretty fired up today. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Keith, and then what about the other series that we saw last night? The 76ers getting the win that they needed over the Knicks. Joel Embiid drops 50. I feel like we have so many different things that we have to talk about in this, though. I mean, obviously, Joel Embiid with the Bell's palsy situation. Like, I think that's probably the most pressing. I was thinking about this earlier today. I can't recall a time where we've seen, and it's possible I'm just forgetting, but I can't recall a time that we've seen this in the NBA.
Yeah, I can't either. That's interesting. I mean, the most famous case I knew was is it Jim Ross, right,
Yeah,
from
JR.
WWE? Like I don't know if he's still with WWE, and if he's not, I apologize, but that's where I knew him from. But he was he suffered from it, and one of the biggest problems is sometimes you can't close your eye.
Yeah.
And then you end up with like all kinds of eye issues and those kind of things. So I think Joel Embiid playing through the knee injury, playing through this, just a monster game for him. Now there were some messiness in that game early. He went down and took down Mitchell Robinson when he really kind of flopped trying to draw a foul. That got ugly. Mitchell Robinson got hurt, couldn't finish the game, had to leave in a walking boot. That was scary stuff. So I'm not going to let him off the hook entirely for those kind of things. But yeah, it was pretty messy. With him. But ultimately in the end, 50 points. They move on. Tyrese Maxey had another big game. Or not move on, but they make it a series. And now we'll see. I mean, that's been the best series so far because all three games have been pretty good.
Keith, that play though with Mitchell Robinson, Joel Embiid dropped 50. If you're a Knicks fan right now, you got to be wondering why was Joel Embiid still in the game after that? Isn't that the kind of play that should get a player disqualified?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people thought that. A lot of people thought that should have been a flagrant too, for sure. Hey, you want to play the breaking news drop?
Yes, I do.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
I haven't looked. Horrifying. I want to be surprised.
I mean, unless you don't like it, Amazon Prime is going to be one of the main homes for the NBA. For upwards of the next 10 years.
Whoa.
So here's what's coming out right now. I'm reading this from Andrew Marchand on The Athletic. This came out. In what will be a landmark move in sports media history, the NBA and Amazon Prime Video have the framework of a deal that will make the streaming service one of the main homes for league games. Executives with Direct Talks told The Athletic they would not start till the 25-26 season and will be in place for at least a decade. ESPN also has a framework of a deal where it'll be completed, which will keep the finals on ESPN ABC and the duration of its deal. It's expected to also be at least a decade. Nobody is commenting publicly on this, so we'll see. But it looks like Amazon Prime. Interestingly enough, in this, no mention of Turner, TNT, Warner Brothers. None of that is mentioned.
Does that mean Amazon Prime is taking Turner TNT's game?
I kind of wonder. Yeah, I really kind of wonder if maybe that's where this is headed, where they're going to take that package. But we'll see. I mean, this could be. There was talks of spinning off a separate package with this, but we'll see. Where it goes. One of the things that's listed here is a possibility is where they have the Amazon has the Thursday night package. Maybe they pick up after that. They pick up the Thursday nights. Yes, there will still be League Pass.
Yeah.
League Pass will still exist. That's not going to change. Here's the good thing, though. One of the things the NBA was looking for was a better streaming strategic partner who could improve the League Pass product, which is great for people who live off it streaming wise. And that was one of the things they talked about. Amazon, obviously, very successcul streamer. So,
this comment said it does mention TNT, but they're going against NBC.
I might have missed it.
It's possible. We're scanning this in real time here as the news is breaking. By the way,
okay, that I must have pulled out. I think it's a breaking story, so I think they're still updating it as it goes. With this, so I do see that in there now. Yeah, it says TNT is facing off with NBC for the likely last package of games. So So let's see what the hell. So NBC was very well known to want to get back in. I'm going to bounce out again real quick. I'm going to do a full shutdown and restart because I'm still struggling with this internet. So I'll be right back.
No problem. Yeah, bounce back in. I'm going to talk a little bit about the consumer side of things and get back on when you can. All right. So this news here, obviously we're breaking this down on the fly. We're taking this in. We're trying to think about what the different angles are on this. And first and foremost, my initial thought is, what does this mean? What does this mean for us? What does this mean for the consumers of the NBA's product? And one of my concerns has always been that what's going to happen is you're going to wind up with games even more spread out. One of the things I don't like is having to go to 5 different places in order to find NBA games, depending on what night it is, depending on what game it is. Sometimes it's on NBA TV, sometimes it's TNT, sometimes it's ESPN, ABC, it's on League Pass, wherever the hell you have to go in order to find the games. As somebody who watches soccer, I really like that I can just go one place and I can watch my LA Galaxy play. I can watch LAFC play. I just go one place. It's all in Apple. Boom, self-contained. There it is. Done. Right? I don't have to worry about anything else. I like that. I know the NBA, they make a lot more money than the MLS is. They are able to do stuff like this, sell it to different places, and that ultimately brings in a lot more revenue for them. I understand why they're doing it. From a consumer perspective, though, my concern, and I think Keith brought up a great point about the streaming, my concern is that in terms of trying to flip between 2 games or something at once, it becomes that much more difficult when you're trying to go from Amazon Prime over to ESPN to wherever else you're going to go to try to find the games. Will these games on Amazon Prime be blacked out on League Pass? I would have to imagine they will be, because they're going. So then, in order to watch NBA games, let's say you're out of market, in order to watch the games for your team, realistically, you're going to have to make sure that if you want to be able to see all games, you're going to need to have ABC, right? You need ESPN. Maybe it's still TNT, plus Amazon Prime, plus probably League Pass for the games that aren't nationally broadcast. That's a lot. That's a lot. And so how they navigate that, I think, is going to be fascinating. That said, again, we don't have all the details on this. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. That said, as someone who uses a lot of different streaming services, right? Like I have the MLB package. I'll flip on an MLB game whenever I want. Same thing with soccer, right? I did the same thing with NFL, with I believe it's a direct kick. I could say the NBA's product with League Pass is probably the bottom of the barrel. It's the bottom rung in terms of all the different major sports leagues that I personally have experienced. I think the MLB one is super, super easy. I love, especially the way it's all integrated through Apple now, and you can just very easily click onto a game, click watch, off you go. You're watching the Dodgers or whoever you want to watch. If it's Keith, it's the Yankees. If Amazon can come in and not only be a partner for Amazon Prime, but also help revamp League Pass, I think that could wind up being a win for the consumer. Keith, I'm talking about the challenge if now it's to find your team, especially if you're out of market, you now need ESPN, ABC, maybe it's still TNT, League Pass, plus now you need an Amazon Prime subscription, how that's an added burden, but maybe that's being outweighed if you get a better overall product with League Pass because Amazon comes in and is able to revamp that.
Yeah, if they can fix it, that's great. I know every year season starts and it is, I don't know what is happening with my internet today. My internet's strong. It's just my connection to the program here for whatever reason is not.
That's so weird.
I don't know. Yeah,
we've always had good luck in the past, but it was a bad omen with the Lakers losing last night, and that's what's happening.
Yep, Friday afternoon. It's ready to call it quits too.
Your internet is on happy hour right now.
Yeah, right. It may be. I pay my bills. Come on now, YouTube user. I pay my bills. Let's go. Keith Bart, Sean Davis. Yeah. I did have somebody said my brother's playing Fortnite. I don't have a brother, but I was streaming a soccer game and I shut it off too, hoping that would help. But it's not the internet. My internet is fine. It's everything. It's just not working here. But all right, let's go. Hopefully it seems like it's maybe stabilizing. We'll see.
We'll see.
If it can fix League Pass, that's great. Like that's huge because every year when the season starts, first night, all these people, my League Pass app crashed. My League Pass isn't working. I can't get in and all this stuff. And yeah, if they can help fix some of that, let's go. Like that'd be awesome. Like I'm all for it. So yeah, I think that would be really good with that. I've expressed my concerns before. If it's an exclusive night and the games are only on Amazon Prime, fine. I don't want to have to be bouncing in and out of apps to do it and those kind of things. Like I'm not that part I'm not a huge fan of, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine, right? And we'll get pretty good product. I'm curious to see who they get for an announced team. That'll be interesting, right? Who do they hire away from somewhere?
I volunteer.
I'm sure they'll do something like that. So all right, there you go, Trevor. So there it is.
I think, you know what? If there's a Manning cast, there needs to be a front office cast. Keith, you wrote up the plan for the Disney World bubble. Write up a plan for the front office cast. Right now, we'll strike while the iron is hot. And next thing you know, it's going to be the front office show presenting NBA games on Amazon. I like this. Makes way too much sense to not happen. Let's do this.
Let's go. Yeah. You guys write. Everybody write the NBA and write Amazon and tell them Amazon should work with Hulu. Hulu's Disney. So that's already ESPN. So that's not going to end up happening. I'm reading that out of the chat. But yeah. What else we got going on? I saw a couple more.
Yeah, let's get into a few more super chats here. Jeremy said, "My condolences, Trevor." Well, thank you. Looks like the Nuggets know they need to only play hard for 10 minutes to beat your Lakers and can coast the other 38. Yep, as I said, it looked like the Nuggets were like waiting for the Lakers to take that last bacon wrap strip, and the Lakers just said, we're not that hungry. Let's go to Ryan Barnes said, "Would the Bulls want D'Lo given their point guard situation?"
No.
Did they have? I don't think so. And
you already have Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and Javon Carter.
Exactly.
And that's before you get to if Lonzo can come back.
That's an even bigger question when we get into, and we do not need to go in depth into this right now, Keith, because we're going to have all summer to talk about this. It's going to be one of the big talking points about what do the Lakers do with D'Lo, his contract, all that. I already did another video today for Lakers Nation that's going to go up in a little bit on that topic. But one of the big questions is going to be, are there any landing spots around the NBA that make sense for D'Angelo Russell? What does that look like if he does decide to opt out of his contract? Is there some place that's tripping over themselves wanting to get D'Lo, especially the way he's performed in the playoffs so far? That market may not be very robust for him, but it only takes one, so you never know.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw Brian Windhorst said today that the expectation is that he will opt out still. So we'll see. I know some were saying with how poorly he played, could he opt in now? It's teams are still going to look at it and say it's the body of work versus just the handful of playoff games. They're not going to let that stress them. Now, maybe someone comes and says, "Hey, we're not going to give you $25 million a year because I don't know if you're going to be good in the playoffs." That could be a different story. But it's not like it's all of a sudden going to be, "Hey, you bombed out in the playoffs, so no one will sign you." That's not going to be a thing.
Yeah. It's more. He's not. I think he's cost himself some money here with how he's played. Last game he was great. Game 2 he was great, but game 1 and game 3, not so great. Rob Ferrelli said, "Phoenix, Philly, and LA all might bounce in the first round. Would overhauls of their rosters be an overreaction?" I think we can take Philly out of the mix because they're already going to overhaul their roster.
Yeah,
they're going to do that. We know that. Phoenix and LA, I don't see them by choice saying we're going to go into essentially a rebuild. If something happens, if Kevin Durant says, "I'm tired of being in 120-degree heat, get me out of here," or something like that, or maybe something like that happens there, or LeBron says, "Hey, I'm out, I'm going to go bounce to Philly, I want to go play with Joel Embiid," or something, then the conversation changes. But I don't think either team, unless they have to, is going to consciously make the choice to go into a rebuild.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think LA's situation is highly dependent on LeBron, right? That's gonna hold everything up until they have clarity on him. That will change some of what happens with that. in their entire setup. Then with Phoenix, it is the only way Phoenix can make changes is if they do trade one of the big guys. Bradley Beal's hard to trade, bad contract, not that great of a player, and he is still has the no trade clause, so he can still block a trade. Devin Booker's the younger guy who's under contract for a while. His new extension just starts next year, so that turns into, if you really wanted to get out of it and really hit a reset, it's got to be KD. But you're only doing that if KD's like, you know what, this isn't working. I don't want to be here. Get me out of here. Then you probably look. Otherwise, it's going to be tough. And it's going to be hard for them to make changes, period. Remember, full force of the second Abram rules kick in the minute your season ends this year. So they're going to be sitting in a spot where what happens to the Suns, they can no longer do things like, well, we'll put Nurkic and Little together, and that gets us a $25 million player. Can't do that anymore. You can't combine contracts. So they're really kind of stuck. It's going to be really, really tough with that. So that's going to be a rough spot. And like we said, Philly, the only way Philly even comes remotely close to running it back is if they make like a run to the East Finals and they're super competitive or beyond. If they go to the NBA Finals or win a title, then you're probably bringing some of the guys back. But beyond that, you're just going to kind of, it's just going to, they have set up for an entire year now to reset that roster around Embiid and Maxey.
Yep, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So that's why I don't see them as in the same realm as those other teams. Vector Nova said, it's been a while, but I have to ask, with so many teams with uncertain futures this offseason, when do teams say it's finally time to rebuild? I'm sure that decision is on the minds of many teams. Hey, Keith, the first thing that comes to mind is sometimes it takes a new regime coming in, right? It takes a new general manager coming in that has the leeway to do that, because usually you're not going to go into a rebuild unless you have to, right? You're not going to start tearing things down unless it's definitely time for that, because there's a financial side to this where you don't make nearly as much money in a rebuild than you do if you're a contender, depending on what your salaries are. Of course, that certainly matters, but in general, you're going to bring in a lot more revenue if you are a contending team. You're getting playoff revenue, all that kind of stuff, versus a rebuilding team. And so that pressure is going to be on a general manager of a team that is having success and winning games to continue that. And once that starts to drop off, that's when changes happen. And so then you get a new regime coming in. Okay, this wasn't working. Now you've got time to build something back up. It's more rare for that general manager to say, this really fell to pieces. Now I get to be the guy to tear it all down and build it back up again. You got to have a very certain and special relationship with the club to get that.
Yeah, and generally you've done it before, right? Like that's the hard thing, because rarely, if you are the guy today saying let's rebuild, you're really going to be the one to build it back up, because it's probably going to go poorly. Most rebuilds do not flip. Everybody looks at OKC and it's like they were down 2 years and now they're on the top of the conference. Generally not how it goes. That is not usually how a rebuild happens. You can just as easily be the Detroit Pistons and be at the bottom and be way at the bottom. So that is a major problem there. So when it's time to rebuild, that's a organizational decision between the GM, and most importantly, it's really up to the owner. And that's why you see teams like Chicago say it's never time to rebuild. I am happy to be every year in the playing tournament, just moving that way. That's when teams get stuck, and they get stuck there, and that's where it goes. So that's the tricky part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll keep an eye on this summer. What's okay, other than Chicago, who's the team that needs to rebuild the most right now?
And it's funny. I talked about this on another show this morning. I think the Nets are close to there for me.
Yeah.
I don't love where they're at right now. I think they're very close to getting themselves stuck in the middle, because they've got too much talent to be bad, but they don't have enough talent and resources to be really good, nor enough cap flexibility. Now, if they waited out a year or two, sure, like they could get there. Then after that, it's probably Atlanta is the next team. Like they're just kind of stuck in the middle with a whole bunch of guys who are good enough to be play in teams, but not really good enough to be great. It's hard, it's tough. There's a you I guess you could make a case it's the Warriors maybe could be on that list. Even I guess you could say the Lakers to some extent, just teams with older stars, but that's not going to happen. So I don't consider them like that. So I take them almost out of the mix. But yeah, I mean, you're in a spot where a lot of these teams are starting over. There's not a bunch of teams that are just kind of stuck right now. So we'll see. Phoenix could be a team that could end up stuck in the good but never great category with the way things are structured and how hard it's going to be for them to build out and fill out their roster. So we'll see.
You and I both had Phoenix getting by the Wolves.
Yeah.
That was our pick. Right now it's 2. There's a game 3 is tonight. Are you ready to revise that? Like, do you now think that Minnesota wins the series?
Internet goblin struck. What did you say?
I said, would you like, if you could go back and do that over, if you could revise that, do you now think, having seen 2 games, that the Wolves are going to win the series?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm there too.
They have figured out how to work around the things that weren't working in the regular season in a way I didn't expect that they'd be able to. So yeah, and that's not just, it's easy to say they're up 2-0, obviously, but it's the way they've played. Like that, that's a bigger part of it.
It's felt like Phoenix hasn't quite been on the same level as the Wolves, and their defense has been fantastic. Defense wins championships. Maybe I should have believed in the Wolves defense a bit more because of that old adage, but they've been great. The Suns have to win tonight's game, otherwise that's the end of the series. That it'll be a 3-0 lead, but it will be the most impressive thing if the Wolves are able to come out tonight and beat Phoenix in this one to put them in a 3-0 hole. That'll really tell you, I think, the Wolves are for real.
Yeah, I mean, we might be facing a world where by the end of the weekend, we have Nuggets Wolves lined up and they're just sitting home twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the other series to catch up. Like that's a very real thing that could happen. So I'm curious to see that too. I've said it all along. When you're down 0-2 and you're going home, you have to come with one of your best games that you possibly can play, because otherwise it's over. There's just, you're not, someone will eventually come back from being down 3-0. Boston almost pulled it off last year, but you have to do it if you still can get game 7 at home, because it's just almost impossible to see a team come back down 3-0 and win all those games on the road. Like that just seems like it's not going to happen. So that's the hard thing. If you're the lower seeded team, you're down 2-0, you have to win game 3.
Yeah, you absolutely have to. And that's the tough spot to be in. So, all right, let's go here. Amer said, in my opinion, this postseason has illustrated the positives of having a very tall / lengthy roster and actually playing big and 3-and-D players. Yeah, I mean, that's been a thing for a little while. Like, okay, let me give you this. So I've talked about this a little bit. When we're talking about teams playing small, teams aren't playing small because guys that are 6'2" are inherently better than guys that are 7 foot. They're playing. There's an advantage to being bigger in basketball. There's no question. That's why I never went pro. That, athletic talent issues. But there's an advantage to being bigger in basketball. If you could get a guy who's 6'10" and is fast and can handle the ball and can pass and can do all the things, play a bunch of guys that are 6'10" and can do all those things. Teams play small because they want to get guys who have more skill, who can shoot, who can do things on the perimeter, who are really quick laterally. They're looking for certain skill sets. If you happen to have that skill set in a guy who's 6'10" or whatever, all the better. It's not so much that small ball is a winning strategy because smaller players are just inherently better. The ideal would be to get a bunch of really tall guys that can do all those things. So yeah, having a tall, lengthy roster, having 3-and-D style players, that absolutely can be a big and helpful thing. but that's always been the case. Teams go small out of necessity because they need more skill on the floor. If they had that skill in taller players, the taller players would be playing.
I think there's a world too with OKC where they don't play super big, but their guys are they're long, they're athletic, they play very hard. They're not tall though. They're other than Chad Holmgren, they don't play anybody who's over like 6'8" or 6'9", but they play bigger than their size, and they have pretty lengthy wingspans, and they're a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Lou Dort and Jalen Williams, those guys are super strong for their size. Even Giddey's a pretty tough defensive player for his size. So it's they've kind of cracked the code that way. Boston doesn't play super big. They pretty much play one big all the time. Miami's playing one big with Bam Adebayo. Part of why they got it done in game 2, they got Kevin Love out of there. They stopped playing him after a stint in the first half. So it's that's it. You can't play bigs just because they're big. They have to be able to play. Like, that's the challenge. And a lot of teams are built slightly different. So it's not a bad thought by any means, but it's just kind of is what it is as far as the way rosters are built now. And most of these teams are built to play around one big man.
I'll say too, like, it's especially true in the playoffs. Those guys that the question was talking about, having a bunch of tall, lengthy players, it becomes a bigger issue in the postseason, because if you happen to have, if it's a Trae Young, right, who's undersized to the point where the size is a problem defensively, that gets magnified in the postseason. And the same is true if you have a big who, say, is slow-footed and can't defend and pick and roll, because teams exploit these teams do a much better job in the postseason when they can prepare for just one matchup. So if you do have any kind of deficiency, that's getting picked on over and over and over again. So it becomes more of a thing in the postseason where you can kind of maybe you can get away with having a smaller guy or having a bigger guy. It's more of a plotter out there in the regular season. In the playoffs, though, knowing those kinds of things are going to get picked apart, that does enhance the importance of having that guy that can kind of do anything defensively that they have to do if the situation calls for it.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's the key, right? Everybody wants a big that can step out and defend, can switch, can pass, can move. And there's just very few of those guys that exist. Like, they just don't all, there's just not all that many of them there. So, so we'll see with that. I think I saw something else, but I can't find the comment. I should have marked it off, but I don't know. I don't remember what it was. Somebody asked if we think Embiid still, here it is.
Oh, yeah.
Is Embiid still going to play in the Olympics? I don't know. I have my doubts. Let's see. If they get eliminated and he has a couple months to essentially rest up and heal up, yeah, probably. But if they continue to roll him out there, or God forbid anything gets worse, yeah, we're probably not going to see him play in the Olympics. I would say Kawhi's probably in that same boat too. If Kawhi is still dealing with stuff, we probably won't see them. Yeah. So we'll see.
Okay, let's go down that road for a second here. Let's say Joel Embiid is out for the Olympics. What does Team USA do? Who do they turn to?
That's a good question. Probably want to get another big in there for sure. Because right now it's Embiid, it's AD, and Bam. Right. Maybe go back to Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of thinking. It was probably going to wind up being. Interesting. It would be a big loss, I think, because even Jaren Jackson Jr. was okay, I guess, last year on Team USA. I don't think he's the ideal guy to put out there. Maybe, and I like him just fine, but he's not Embiid. So this could actually be a really big thing, I think, for Team USA. Not that I'm saying I expect them to lose or something like that, but that's a big difference going from Joel Embiid to Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, big time. A couple of people through chat out. Yeah, don't hate that idea. We'll see. Karl Anthony Towns can't play for Team USA.
Right.
Bruce Barnes asked that. He is plays for the Dominican Republic on the national team level. So, will not be Cat.
Yeah. People said
Walker Kessler
He
played last year and couldn't play. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna be him.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see what they would do.
Yeah,
probably,
and
like you said, probably Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, I hope they don't go small like that. Like,
Yes,
we've seen Dave when they tend to struggle, it's because they don't have enough size. So yeah, we'll see. But
okay. Oh, somebody said Miles Turner.
maybe.
Maybe.
I don't hate that idea. Yeah.
You're kind of it's I guess this really, when you start this whole thought process, it really highlights how thin the American center position is. Like, you think about most of the center, you bounce around most of the top centers in the league, and they're not from the US. And that's interesting looking around the NBA. Like, you go to some of these guys, you're like, oh, who's the best guys that maybe might be flying under the radar a little bit? Okay, like, even if you can go get Alperen Sengun, nope. Sabonis, nope. Even if you wanted, a Valanciunas or something, nope.
Yep.
Nurkic, nope. It's somebody said Mitchell Robinson. I mean, he's dealing with an injury too, though.
Yeah. Brooke Lopez, maybe.
Brooke Lopez.
You go to him.
Yeah.
Jared Allen could be somebody, I guess, if you really wanted like a true center. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Somebody said DeAndre Jordan. We're well past that. At that point, you would just go small.
At that point, I'm not watching the Olympics.
Oh no! Oh, poor DeAndre.
Nothing against DeAndre Jordan. That's where we'll fall into. Whew, we're in trouble.
Evan Mobley is not a true big. I don't think he solves the problem there.
That's the issue with like him and even Jaren Jackson Jr. and Miles Turner. They're all similar versions of each other, I guess, where it's not, they don't get it done rebounding and those kind of things. So yeah, let's all just hope that the big fella's okay and can play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hope everything's
okay. If you're rooting for the United States, I guess.
Sure.
So yeah, not Andre Drummond. Like, what are we
doing? We're getting silly responses in there.
Taj Gibson, Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Nope. So much for that being the savior of the season. Christian Wood's game 3. What happened? They didn't even play.
We're going to hear something this summer about that. Yeah. Something happened. Something clearly happened.
I had someone in the league texted me, and after that report came out and said, oh, so instead of DNP injured, he's going to be DNP coach's decision again. And it was like, he wasn't playing before he got hurt. Like, he was starting to not play as much. So.
He was starting to not play as much. They just wanted another big body to throw out there. But the report being from Shams that Christian Wood intended to play, that tells you it's coming from Christian Wood's side. So what happened then? Something happened there. Obviously, probably something on the team side where they disagreed on whether or not he's ready or something to that effect. I'd imagine we're going to hear something this summer about what really went down there, because there's a piece missing from that puzzle.
Yeah, the whole thing just hasn't worked out the way anybody hoped, right? Like, he just hasn't been what people wanted him to be for the Lakers. A lot of that was the defense wasn't there. And I think what ended up happening with him was he got put on second units with lesser defenders, and he can't prop those guys up. So that negates, and I'm not saying the Lakers should have started him just because he's better with the starters, but that he really is. There's a world where you could have gone back, redone some rotations where maybe AD goes out early, Christian Wood comes in, plays the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second with some of the other starters, and then AD comes back to close the half. That probably would have been more workable, just if he saw more time with the starters. But he played so much with bench guys, he just can't prop those guys up. He's just not that kind of defensive backbone. So then I think as a coaching staff, use faith, because we bleed points every time you're out there. So you can't be out there. And then now next thing you know, he's not playing at all. So
his usefulness was very dependent upon his ability to hit shots, and that kind of came and go. It came and went. There were ebbs and flows in that. So that was frustrating. By the way, what do you think he picks up his option? What does he do?
Yeah, it's tough because
it's
on
a
one
slight
side
raise off of a minimum.
Yeah. Is he like, yeah, I'll just pick it up and stick around because it's a little bit more money than I'd get otherwise? Or does he say, all right, I'm happy to go back because I'm not really giving up a whole lot, still going to be on a minimum and go from there?
Nobody's given him above a minimum, right? I can't imagine.
No. No. He would
So,
have had to have come out and done 10 points per game, 10, 5, 6, 7 rebounds per game off the bench or in a pseudo starting role, play a lot. And then maybe it's, hey, we'll give you part of the non-taxpayer if we've got some leftover cap space or whatever.
mhm.
Yeah, we'll sign you there now. Yeah, it's just going to be a minimum deal for sure.
All right. JJ Castillo said, we'll finish up with this, said, it's been frustrating with how the Lakers' last 4 seasons have ended in disappointment since winning in 2020. Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, the most frustrating part is that it's self-inflicted. They did this to themselves. They're still paying the penalty for the Russell Westbrook trade, essentially, when you look at their team and the limitations they've had upon it. It was mistakes made by them. They overreacted to what was a really good team in 2020 and got taken down by an injury to Anthony Davis against the Suns. I think there was a decent shot. Had AD not gotten injured, they would have gone back to the finals that year. But they overreacted, and that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a team that is still kind of stuck trying to build back after, one of the most devastating trades I think we've seen in sports.
Yeah, it's up there, especially
up
where
there.
no one got hurt, right? Like it wasn't a one
Right.
where you traded for a guy and then he suffered a
Exactly.
career-ending injury or something. Like everybody just it didn't work. I think too, beware chasing the third star this summer.
Mhm.
I know everybody is hammering on Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell. I'll put that. I saw this in your comments on your post game wrap up show last night. All the people saying they got to go get Kyrie Irving. That ship has sailed. That's
Yeah.
done. The Mavs are not.
That's not happening.
Yeah, if you trade AD and the picks and Austin Reeves, yeah, they'll probably talk.
And-
but you're not doing that. So you're not getting Kyrie. So
And just like the
forget that
Nets
one.
did, the Mavs would send him anywhere but the Nets specifically did not want to give
Sure.
Kyrie to the Lakers because they didn't want him to go where he wanted to. The Mavs don't want to give him to the Lakers. They'll say
Well, and-
if they had to trade Kyrie, they would trade him somewhere else for sure.
Yeah.
But also they're not trading him. Period. Because
Yeah,
the Mavs are
exactly.
good.
So I think you're in a spot where like that's not happening. So now you've got to get to a place where it is. I think the way forward, I think what these playoffs have shown us is, and including even some of last year, going the 3-star model and then just filling it out with minimums, it's just not the way anymore. You have to be able to put yourself in position where you can build enough depth. It's not, you don't get to be the Pistons. The year was kind of like, oh, it's just a bunch of good dudes with no
Right.
stars. But I don't know. So that's where I'd be really careful. I know people are go get Trae Young, go get Donovan Mitchell. I insert whatever unknown star right now becomes available. I'm just not sure that's the way to go. Especially everything you'd give up, because if it doesn't work, then what? Now you're really stuck. Now you're in a spot where, what are you? Like you're probably still a playoff team or close, but probably not a real contender. And that can't be good enough.
You've got to be convinced that if you're going to make a big move like that, you've got to be convinced this is going to be our guy that's going to lead us into a post LeBron era. You got to be convinced this is the guy that we want to put everything around. And do they feel that way about Trae Young? Should they? What about Donovan Mitchell? Is it, that's really the question they have to answer. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. And then, of course, the added context of what does LeBron want them to do? He's got a player option. Is he going to hold that over them? That type of, it's going to be fascinating to see how they handle what's going to be a very complicated summer.
Yeah, and you're just hoping LeBron makes decisions early and you move because you don't want to be sitting there waiting like we have been in the past. I don't think we will be. This is not peak prime LeBron. The entire NBA orbits around me, but we'll be there. We're waiting and watching, but we're 2 months out. We'll see where we get to. That's still we got a couple months before we get to all that stuff. We got quite a bit to go, but yeah, it's we're talking about now because it's going to be a big major story coming for sure.
All right, before we get out of here and head off to the weekend, I did just drop the link in for the Basketball Bulletin, our Substack. Some great stuff coming out there. I know, Keith, you and I just participated in Bryce's mock draft that's going to be out pretty
really
soon
good
for the NBA. Tons of great draft content out there from Bryce. He continues to lap us in our production on Basketball Bulletin, but comments and things like that from Keith and I as well going out there. So go check it out. Go check out the Basketball
Bryce
Bulletin.
checking it. Mock
There
draft
he is.
Monday.
It's coming out on Monday.
Guys, if you want great draft content, Bryce is pumping out incredible draft content on the Basketball Bulletin. There's also big, if you don't know Bryce does the Game Theory show with Sam Vecini talking about the draft in depth. Sam only trusts people who he knows really know what they're talking about. Bryce does great work on the draft, as well as just understanding the league altogether. So, great stuff. Mock Draft Monday is there.
You said I'm being a really awful teacher right now. That's okay. It's Friday. Hand out those worksheets. Put on that video.
Yeah.
Call it good. Call it good. As long as you got your standards up on the board, somebody will do a walkthrough. You're all fine. Just have the standards on the board. Have your stuff up there. Have your bell work up there, and you're good.
That's it. It's Friday. Let the kids relax. We're good.
That's right.
All right. Well, hopefully the internet gods smile upon me for the next show. I don't know what happened here, but that was a mess on my end, so I apologize for that. But we'll work through it. We'll figure it out.
Yep. We managed to get through it. Everybody, we hope you have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy some great basketball, and thank you, everybody. New front office show. Be back on Monday. Till then, see ya and stay safe.